Okay, so good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Emma Adeleye, and I am a faculty employability advisor, aka careers advisor, because that's the easiest term to remember, at Middlesex University. And today we'll be talking about your personal brand, but specifically your online brand. If I just pass on to Dina so she can introduce herself.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Dina. I'm Emma's colleague and Louise's colleague. We all work in MDX Works, the Careers and Employability team at Middlesex. I'm also a careers advisor, but I predominantly look over business students, particularly marketeers. So if you're a marketing student, potential marketing student, and then I'll be very glad to work with you in the future. But as Emma mentioned today we'll be discussing your personal brand, what that means, and how we can get started as future students in trying to really develop ourselves within our online presence.
Okay, if we can have the next slide, please.
There we go.
Okay, so today, as we've mentioned, we'll be talking about your personal brand, specifically focus on your online brand. So the contents of today's session will be covering what your personal brand should do. And there's three things essentially that you should think about when you're thinking about your online presence. And that's one, does your brand allow you to be found? i.e., if I type in your name in Google, will I be able to find your online platforms? Does it allow you to be chosen? And to be chosen, you have to be memorable. And finally, does it allow you to be trusted, which means shareable, i.e., would I recommend you to my friend, to my employer, based on your online platform? And then secondly, we'll be diving straight into LinkedIn and Instagram and giving you a lot of detail as to how to improve your personal branding using these two particular platforms. If we can move on, please. Okay, so your personal brand essentially is what differentiates, is what differentiates you from other people. So for example, all the people that have spoken so far, we all have our own personal brands. We all have different backgrounds, different characteristics, different personalities. And essentially that really makes us different from everybody else. I know I'm very different than anyone else in my department, and I'm sure everyone else can say the same as well. So this is really to highlight that each and every one of you has a personal brand. Whether you realize it or not, you all have a personal brand and something that differentiates you from others. All you have to do is literally just be yourself and you're already standing out from the crowd. If we can move on to the next slide, please. Perfect. So I have a quick question that I'd like you to think about during this whole presentation. And at the end, probably ask you to use the Q&A section to provide some answers. So just think about all of these people you can see on the screen and what you think they have in common. Now, I don't think I'm too old, so I'm going to try and see if I know these people. That is Chrissy Teigen, Iggy Azalea Banks, Zoella, Kevin Hart, and somebody I just found out yesterday, which is Vanessa Hudgens. So what do you think all these people have in common? We're going to discuss a few things and hopefully you can give me an answer towards the end. Next slide, please. Okie dokie. So if we go straight into the nitty-gritty of today's session, I did essentially say the first thing that your personal brand should allow you to be is to be found. I give you a perfect example. If you're applying for a job, you've handed in your CV and your cover letter, can the potential employer find you online to get more information? And I tell you, for the last 6 or 7 years, every time I've had an interview, I've already seen that people have checked me on LinkedIn. I didn't ask them to do so, but to get some more information about who I am, my experience, and the skills I have to offer, they've easily gained access to my LinkedIn profile. Now think about the kind of platforms you have, the kind of platforms you use, and if it's easy for you to be found. So I'll first of all start by talking about the various different platforms that you can use. So you can, of course, in person, that includes events that you can attend, whether that's when you come to Middlesex University, and we have various events in our department from MDX Works, or even events in your lectures, to networking events, even going out to a party is an opportunity to really talk about or talk to someone about who you are. But because we're focusing on online, I'm going to talk about Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. If you send out emails, that's an option as well. and you may have a podcast or be interested in getting into the podcast world, that's also a place for you to be found and for people to get to know you. So think about this. There are so many aspects to really positioning yourself and your brand that may seem quite overwhelming. So what I love to tell people is to be very strategic. You don't have to have a platform on every single social media network. You really don't need it. So think about where you are seen online and how people will perceive you. Perfect example. I have a Facebook. I haven't logged into that for the last 10 years. I might as well just delete that platform. I have a LinkedIn because professionally I want to be found and I want people to connect with me, not just in my industry, but in my area of interests. So I work as a careers advisor professionally, but in my private time, I also work with a magazine. So I'm connected to a variety of different people online. Snapchat, I don't think I have an interest in life, so I don't have a Snapchat. I don't even bother. But what I would use Snapchat for is very different from what I would use LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for as well. And I assume everybody here has a WhatsApp because that's what I use every single day. But it's really talking about the platforms you use, how you use it, and what people think about you on these platforms. And the reason why that's important is because about 10 years ago, I worked in an organization, and there was someone who was a security man at the door. He was actually an amazing person, such a friendly person, that the one day that he wasn't at work, everyone asked, where is so-and-so? For us to find out that he actually got fired. And he got fired because of something on his social media. Now, this was so long ago, it wasn't Instagram, it would have to have been Facebook. Till today, I have no idea what they found, but it was that bad that he had to be released from his position. So I say, a lot of people will assume that locking your Facebook and Instagram to private is enough, but I'm sure you've seen people on WhatsApp in particular groups who share their opinions with friends and people they thought they trusted, who screenshotted it and shared it online. So what I will say is, yes, it's good to be found and easily accessible, but also utilize your platforms carefully. Be strategic, really and truly. And the last thing I'll say about this slide is it's not enough to be found, i.e. easily accessible, but is it easy to connect with you? So for instance, if someone is connecting with you on Instagram and they're asking you something in your DMs, that isn't irrelevant, but is relevant to you and friendly, I guess, is it easy to get through to you? If someone's connecting with you on LinkedIn, have you confirmed the connection? Are you having conversations on your online platform? So think about that. Number one, it's important for your personal brand to be easily found, i.e. either yourself, or if anyone here who's creative or is interested in using social media to really pursue a business, can you be easily found as well? Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so the second thing is your personal brand should allow you to be chosen. And this is where I really highlight your USP, which really essentially means your unique selling point. What really makes you stand out from the crowd? So for me, everywhere I go, everyone knows my background. I studied law, I did a bit of business, I am a barrister in my hometown of Nigeria. I have that experience in Nigeria as well. So I bring 3 years of experience from a different country to the UK. I've worked in various different areas. And when I'm applying for jobs like careers advisory roles, these are the things that I used to say to really sell myself and to say, this is how I stand out from everybody else. I bring international experience. I bring experience from different fields, including law, including working in the court, including doing research work. And essentially that's what is my USP. If you don't mind, just clicking next, please. So really what I'm saying here is it's essential that you leverage your unique selling point and make it the cornerstone of your brand. It's not enough just to say you have a USP. Do the people around you know what your USP is? i.e. do you communicate this and are you able to communicate this? And I see so many students that specifically say, I don't know how to talk about myself. I don't know how to big myself up. If you don't do it, somebody else will do it for themselves and will get where you're supposed to get to. So it's for me to really encourage you to, one, understand who you are. Number two, note down what makes you different. Number three, be able to articulate this as well. I always encourage people not to be shy about the things that make you different. I think we're so used to being in a society that says different isn't the greatest. That's not the case. highlight those things, showcase it, and really practice it as well. And that's exactly what MDX Works is for. Even using LinkedIn and connecting with people, ask for opinions. This is how I am. This is the kind of thing I bring to the table. What do you think that means in this particular industry? So depending on what you're choosing to study or what you're planning to do in the next few years, whether it's IT, media, psychology, business studies, think about the things that make you stand out in that particular field, and don't be afraid to really share and make that the cornerstone of your particular brand. Remember, everyone has a personal brand. Just being you makes you your own personal brand. And can I have the next slide, please? Last but not least, I talk about being trusted. So remember, we said your personal brand should allow you to be found, to be chosen, and last but not least, trusted. So this is where I really ask everyone to think about the kind of people they follow on Instagram or Twitter. What makes you follow these people? I guess consistent content is one thing, number one. Number two, knowing that they're not necessarily fake, or that they're being genuine and consistent and very clear. And these are the things I encourage you to be. So creating a brand really requires you to be intentional with your actions, your behaviors, and your online content. So your aim is to really build trust with your brand. And this requires you to be clear and very consistent. So think about this. What you show on LinkedIn, is it the same as what you would show on Instagram? Is that the same as what you would show on Facebook? I think it was last year or the year before, there was a Dolly Parton challenge that came out. And that essentially was really showing you what you should do on each platform. Of course, she had a Tinder platform. What she does on Tinder is very different to what she'll do on any other platform. But her LinkedIn platform was professional use. The content she shared on that platform was professional use. So on LinkedIn, she was trusted to be a professional. Facebook was more friends and family. But nowadays, that's improved as well. So you can actually encourage, you can, what's it called, promote your business on Facebook. You have Facebook Marketplace, or you can even find jobs on Facebook as well. And then, of course, we know Twitter and Instagram as well. Do the people you follow, do they demonstrate things that allow you to trust them? If that's the case, I would also embody that as well. So creating a brand really requires you to develop confidence in yourself. Go beyond just mentioning your name. So for example, my name's Emma Adelaye. You'll find me on LinkedIn. You won't find me on Instagram because I use Instagram for business purposes. But when I'm sharing that information, it is clear, concise, and people trust that I know what I'm doing when I'm talking about that particular business. But on LinkedIn, people trust that I know what I'm doing when I'm talking about being a careers advisor, because I'm very clear and consistent. And because I'm doing that, I'm making good connections and building rapport with people. So one question I would like to ask you all is your presence online consistent with how you want people to perceive you? So I think I'll say that again. Is your presence online consistent with how you want people to perceive you? If you want people to see you as a bubbly person, do you demonstrate that online? If you want people to take you as a professional, i.e., for example, if I'm interested in doing managerial work, am I putting that out there? If I'm going online to do dance videos, is that what I want people to see? If not, that's probably not what I should be doing. Or I should just be smart about it, right? On Facebook, I have a privacy lock. Only my friends can see what I post there. My Instagram is business focused, so that's open to everybody. And my LinkedIn, I choose who to connect with and who to follow as well. So I'm very strategic with my online brand so that I can be trusted as well. If we can go to the next slide. So this is an interesting image, and it doesn't say a lot in itself, but this was Ellen who had a show, and she used a small segment of her show to delve into her employees and their Facebook profiles. And she found some very interesting stuff. So interesting that we can't show you the video, but it does show the importance of cleaning up your online brand, placing locks where they need to be placed, and showing your best self, putting your best self forward, because you don't want to be caught slipping. That's one. Two, there's nothing worse than utilizing or doing the best you can to build the best brand. And then there's one particular post, one particular thing that you've mentioned in a caption, or you've noted somewhere underneath someone else's opinion that could essentially get you into trouble later on. And if we can have the next slide, please.
Thank you so much, Emma. We'll go back to Emma shortly. So I'll be speaking a little bit about LinkedIn and Instagram in particular. So when speaking about LinkedIn, I'm pretty sure some of you would associate people in suits or your parents with a LinkedIn profile. Usually LinkedIn is viewed as a profile for more or less professional networking. However, students are becoming the fastest growing consumer group. With a lot more students and fresh graduates using LinkedIn more and more so. Post-pandemic, we've seen that LinkedIn use has been quite exceptionally high amongst younger individuals, giving the prominence and the relevance of networking nowadays. We'll speak a little bit about the hidden job market and what that really is, but the hidden job market is essentially all the roles that aren't really advertised. It's about who you know, not what you know. And I'll talk a little bit about, one of the 6 reasons to actually being on LinkedIn. One of them is, bypassing gatekeepers. So essentially, by networking, by creating professional networks with individuals within the industry, you could actually find yourself being placed for a role and not even having to go through the standard application process. So you bypass a couple of steps ahead of other people just off the basis of, a person that you were able to network with. And LinkedIn is a great site, a great platform that is used for just that. And I can tell you a little bit about my story later on, how I actually used LinkedIn in order to actually gain my first 2 internship experiences. So it really does show you power of networking and why it's really important for us nowadays, especially in the wake of the pandemic. With regards to Instagram, I'm pretty sure most of you have Instagram. I certainly do. Emma has an Instagram for her business account. So essentially, we all have our different reasons for being on there. Emma will speak to you a little bit more about how Instagram can be more widely used. But I'm pretty sure that you guys are a little bit more aware of kind of the features on Instagram. So I want to delve a little bit deeper into LinkedIn first. So just to give you a little bit of stats, so there are 706 million registered LinkedIn users, so worldwide. That really goes to show you, again, the prominence that the platform is having, and it's gaining even more momentum now in 2020 and 2021 in particular. 60% of the UK student and working population use LinkedIn. As I said, there has been an increase in student groups with using the platform with regards to gaining more commercial awareness and gaining more insight into organizations, events, and simply networking, landing these opportunities. We always say opportunities are like balloons, they're tied to people. So keep that in mind. Sometimes it's really about who you know and not what you know. And that's, a platform where you can really, truly leverage your networks, okay? So I've already said students are the fastest growing consumer group on the platform, and LinkedIn is a great way in which you can actually search for opportunities. So there's 6.5 million jobs that are actually advertised on LinkedIn, and it's increasingly becoming more popular for organizations to post their vacancies via LinkedIn as opposed to external jobs boards websites. So definitely it's becoming more and more prominent as a means to search for opportunities. So I said I'll give you a little bit of a background into the reasons to get on LinkedIn. So we go briefly into each point one by one. So the first point really, the main reason why people also have LinkedIn and create a profile is to really showcase their achievements. Think about LinkedIn as your online CV, as your online portfolio. You want to include everything that makes you so unique. As Emma said, we need to have and identify our unique selling point. We individuals, there's no one like you, but we need to have an awareness of ourselves. We need to have an awareness of our experiences, our hobbies, our interests that really make us unique, different from other candidates. And being able to showcase that in a profile is key. So with regards to your LinkedIn profile, many people use it as a means to showcase their work. So for creatives, that's anything from posting their projects and their video content, their photos, any graphics that they've been working on, or links to projects that they've worked in, wider projects, or links to articles that they've written. So as I said, it's a platform where you can really showcase your key strength, your signature strength, your experiences, your accomplishments, your achievements in one space. I also mentioned previously that LinkedIn is a great means in which you can gain commercial awareness. So most organizations globally are on LinkedIn. I'd be very surprised if a reputable organization is not on LinkedIn. Essentially, most of the world's organizations are on LinkedIn. And so with that being said, you can find regular updates from these organizations with regards to best practices, anything that they've undertaken more recently. There's regular posting of articles, sharing of events that the companies are putting on. So essentially, it's a way in which you can gain access to this to these initiatives that the organizations undertake. And it works just like any platform. You will have a homepage, and so when you do follow the organizations, automatically any post from that organization will be on your homepage. So essentially you have a homepage with a bunch of interesting articles, events, job listings, you name it, on there, so that you can be well informed about the ins and outs, what's going on in the sector, what's going on in that particular organization. And these can actually be starting points for conversations. So say you looked at a say you're interested to work for media, you followed a company called Mediacom, you've seen that they did something very innovative, you found someone who works in Mediacom, and then you pop them a personalized message saying, hey, so-and-so, I noticed that you work for Mediacom. I particularly found what you did, on your blah, blah, blah campaign, very, very innovative. I'd like to speak to you a little bit more about what you do, if you don't mind. So that's just a way in which you can actually open up a conversation. Even by gaining that commercial awareness, you're already giving them some thought as to, wow, this person is actually interested in what they do, they have a passion for what we do, let's start a conversation, let's see where it goes. It could lead to an opportunity, or it could just lead to you networking with that individual, and at a later stage they'll have you in mind for any, let's say, internship that comes up within the same organization. Okay, so as I said, if it's not obvious, LinkedIn is to network. Okay, it's a professional networking site. It's making connections with people. You can make connections with recruiters, you can make connections with your colleagues, you can make connections with your lecturers, you can make connections with employers, as I mentioned. So you can really reach out to those people, and gain, some insights. It doesn't have to, as I said, be opportunities. You can, for example, network with someone who's, a senior marketeer. And if that's a role you want to get into and that's what you aspire to be, maybe, send that person a message and have an idea about, their route into marketing, what they did. Okay, what was the journey like? What do they recommend you to do? What do they advise you to do? Okay, even if you have something that you're stuck on, let's say in an assignment that you want someone to inform you a little bit more about, let's say a campaign or something, then that's something that you can also ask them as well. So, making sure that your networks are also meaningful is key. Because I remember when I did start off on LinkedIn, I thought, I need to do the machine gun effect, which is pop an invitation to every single person on LinkedIn. And you want to make sure that your connections are meaningful. So you see a person, is that person working in a sector that you want to get into? Is that person, interested in things that you're interested in? It doesn't even have to be career related. If that person has done some voluntary work in a cause that you're really passionate about and you want to get into that, then you can network that with that person. So it doesn't just have to be career related. It can be wider than that. Okay. So making sure that they're meaningful in a way to you. Okay. We do recommend that LinkedIn users do try and aspire to gain at least 300 connections, but all in one go that will happen organically. And as I said, making sure that they're meaningful connections and you're not just sending out invitations to just about anyone. Also, the fourth point is getting job notifications. So as I said, LinkedIn is used by many organizations to post adverts. We've noted that 6.5 million jobs that are advertised on LinkedIn. And so you can actually, just like any jobs boards, create your criteria on the filters. And if you go on the jobs tab, then it will list out all the jobs, all the vacancies that are catering to the criteria that you have mentioned. So essentially, it's a great way, as I said, to find some opportunities that fit your relevant criteria. Now, the fifth point, I already mentioned it, is bypassing gatekeepers. Okay, so as I said, opportunities are like balloons, they're tied to people. So if you connect with someone, say you connect with someone who works for a particular organization, you strike up a conversation with them and you say, hey, is there any opportunities for an internship? Say, well, I do have an internship actually in the organization. I'll put in a word for you with one of the hiring managers and I'll let them get in touch with you. So that within itself, you've bypassed the online application stage, which is essentially one of the hardest stages to get through. We always tell students the hardest stage is actually getting the interview. Once you got the interview, you know, you're in a good position because that already tells you a lot, that you've already been shortlisted from a load of applicants. Okay, so imagine if you can actually bypass that only through networking to actually go into an interview stage and have someone put in a good word for you. So that's another means in which you can actually gain from making these professional networks. And that's certainly what happened to me. So I did know someone who worked for a PR company. I reached out to my colleague. I asked her to reach out to her manager to see if I can get an internship. I was able to actually have a coffee with that person. He liked, you know, what I did for my program of study. I showed him a few of my assignments, and the following week I was actually offered an internship with the company, and that's off the basis of actually being a self-starter, taking initiative, and going out there and networking, essentially. And the last point is essentially you can find MDX Works on LinkedIn as well. We do post regular events, employability events that do happen within the university. There's lots of tips and tricks that we share with our students as well. We like to engage with our students, definitely, and we do a lot of work on there as well. So you can check us out on LinkedIn as well. I do encourage you to start having a think about really signing up and getting started on making a profile. Okay, so the other question, how to grow your network. So essentially, as I said, try and reach out to people that you know, okay? Friends, colleagues, family, tutors, career services, really expand your networks, okay? You don't know, maybe there's a second connection. In LinkedIn, you have first connections, which are people that you've directly worked with or directly studied with. And then you have second connections where it's people that are connected with people that you're connected to. So you see, you can always expand your network based on that, okay? And certainly don't underestimate the power of the people that you do know, okay? So the power of one of your tutors or a family member or a friend or one of your colleagues. Essentially, you need to be open. As I said, take initiative, okay? What's the worst that can happen? If you send an invite and someone doesn't respond to you, I mean, is it really a big deal? It's not really a big deal. I certainly have had a multitude of messages not being open, not being responded to, but I've had even more messages where I have been responded to. Okay, so always think, what's the worst that can happen? I might as well take initiative and do something than not do anything at all. And it's really important when you're actually reaching out to these people to have netiquette. So netiquette comes from the word etiquette inside. So it's how you present yourself online. Okay, it's really important. So if you are sending out an invitation to someone you don't know, you want to personalize it. If I get let's say a friend request, and I don't know the person, and that person hasn't written anything with regards to why they've requested to connect with me, I'm going to find it a little bit odd and I might not accept it. But if I get an invitation on LinkedIn with someone saying, well, I looked at your profile, I really enjoyed what you did in this experience, or I really like the fact that you're interested in volunteering or activism in blah, 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 can we connect? Then that will show me, wow, so that within itself is a meaningful connection. That person really values what I've done. Of course, yes, I will accept the friend request in that sense. So always try and personalize your connection, particularly when you don't know the person. So if it's something that they've done, point that out. If it's, the organization that they're working in that you're interested to get into, point that out. If it's the sector that they're working in, point that out. As long as you're just being polite, not being too forward, and showing some interest in the person, it will go a long way. Okay, and the final point is really engaging with your network. So it's really important to give back. And giving back online would be liking, would be commenting, would be sharing other people's posts. Okay, so making sure that you have some sort of activity, and that also plays in. So the more active you are on LinkedIn, the more exposure you'll get to your profile. Okay, so just bearing that in mind, and it's not to just say that you just do some mindless activity on LinkedIn. Make sure again that it's meaningful. So if you're liking a post, make sure you actually like it and you're not just liking any post out there. When you do comment, make sure that you do comment and being conscientious of what you're actually posting. Okay, and as Emma mentioned, in her example, and we'll go into that later on in the presentation today, you need to really be mindful about what you post, because you never know whether someone will have these posts resurface and it will come back to bite you. Okay, you leave a digital footprint, and it's really ever so hard to delete things permanently. It's going to somewhere be out there on the internet. Okay, so just be careful about what you like, what you comment on. Just try and be as mindful as possible. Okay. I'm nearly done. So what are the benefits with regards to gaining knowledge and insights from LinkedIn? So as I said, you follow organizations. Once you follow organizations, you'll be able to stay up to date with what they do, best practices, what's going on in the sector, any events. Some organizations even now give, advice and guidance to graduates, to give back to student communities in these difficult times. So essentially follow companies that you're interested in and see what you can gain out of them as well. Explore potential employers based on current skill set and your degree. So as I said, you can always filter down, what roles you want to get into, and then you'll be more aware of what organizations are out there within the sector of your choice. So I remember when I was graduating, I knew what sector I wanted to get into, but I didn't know the organizations that work in the sector. I know the big brands, but I didn't know the agencies. I didn't know the specialist agencies. So it's really important to have that as a way in which you gain a little bit more insight into the organizations that are available for you to actually explore. Okay, as I said, finding out upcoming events, exploring potential jobs, widening your job search. As I said, there's a job search function on LinkedIn as well. And with the Discover Hub, you can discover other people, pages, articles, and even group recommendations. So you can even be part of groups where you'll have to send in a request and they will accept you into the group. And there's a multitude of groups on LinkedIn you can be part of. There's also, interestingly, an alumni tool as well. So if, let's say, you graduated or you're a student at Middlesex University, you can find all the people that have graduated or are studying currently at Middlesex. So that, again, gives you another conversation starter. So if you see alumni who works in an organization that you are quite interested to get into, you can say, well, I can see that you graduated from Middlesex. I'm a current student at Middlesex University. Would you mind giving me some advice on etc. So again, you can use the alumni tool to network with individuals with the same academic background as you. So I hope that was clear. We're going to go on to Instagram, and I'll give the slide on to Emma. She can talk to you a little bit about how to use Instagram to really develop your personal brand.
Thank you. Thank you. Just wanted to add one thing with the LinkedIn profile as well. If you have a name that you know you can find amongst so many other people, this is so random, but I'll say like a Stan Smith, and it's hard for people to connect with you. Don't be afraid to add your middle name so that it's easy to locate you. And I say that because I had a lot of people saying they thought I was a man before they met me, because my name, I don't know how Emma can be translated to a man's name, but maybe it can. A lot of men online have my surname, and their name Emmanuel is shortened to Emma. So very random, but just thought I'd throw that in there as well. Okay, so we're going to talk about Instagram a little bit. And I assume most of you have an Instagram, and if you don't, you're aware of Instagram. It is, I would say, one of the most popular social media platforms out there right now, with 112.5 million users as of last year. Now, with the pandemic, that may have increased because people just want to find a way to interact online. And with that, this year, I'd like to read this out. This year, the stats demonstrate that the highest population of people on Instagram are between the ages of 25 to 34, with the second highest being 18 to 24-year-olds, and that's a staggering 29.8%. So 33% of people on Instagram are between the ages of 25 and 34. And 29.8% of those on Instagram are between the ages of 18 to 24. Now, that's a huge amount of numbers. Now, of course, Instagram is used to really gather insights, to sell products, to sell yourself, to brand yourself, I would say. And it really keeps rolling out various different functions and tools for you to really succeed in however you use the platform. Now, one thing I will say is, with the right marketing strategy, people can either promote their products and services or themselves to really boost their brand. Now, remember I said everyone has a personal brand. So it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, wherever you've come from, you are your own personal brand. So if you go on Instagram and your Instagram page is just your name, that is the start of you sharing your personal brand. It's not the start of you starting your personal brand, because you're already your personal brand, but it's the start of you really sharing it. So how to use Instagram to really develop your personal brand? I would say there are two ways. Now, I follow someone by the name of Gary V. He's very good, although he does swear a lot, so I won't encourage the swearing, but I will say that he says something about your posts. A lot of people say, write a strategy, define your goals, focus, find your theme. And I think that's actually good information when you're doing something business focused, or when you have a specific thing you want to do on Instagram. But if you really want to use the page to enjoy, just start posting. Honestly, I think sometimes we tend to think so much into it that we step back and don't do the first step. The first step is to start a post, something that you like. Always make sure you add credit though. So don't take people's work, because people might come for you at a later stage, but do credit the work that you take. But if it's something that you like, post it. If it's a quote, post it, a picture, whatever it is, just get started. And that's also something that is relevant for LinkedIn as well, in terms of liking comments or adding comments or creating articles on LinkedIn as well. But that's one way of literally just developing your personal brand. Literally just go with it, go with the flow and see how it goes. And that's a good way of developing an organic audience. And then the second path is a more structured route, which I also think is beneficial as well. And that's defining your goals. Why are you on Instagram? Are you there to develop your personal brand and to get yourself out there? Are you there to just follow others and really just keep up to date with what's going on in the world? That can be personally, in terms of your hobbies, maybe you like fashion, you like to keep up to date with news and you follow CNN and BBC or whatever it may be. Or are you there to start a business and to start selling products? Whatever it is, you can write that down, define your goals. Then the second thing is to really start focusing on themes, right? So I'm sure those who are on Instagram follow people that have a specific theme or specific pattern and style, and it's very attractive. However, on the flip side of that, that doesn't mean that someone who sporadically posts maybe a picture here, a quote there, a comment here and there isn't attractive as well. So it really does depend. There is no wrong or right way of doing it, but it's your personal brand. You know what you like. This is where it differentiates between what you're doing for yourself and what you're doing if, for example, you have a business and you're selling your business, which is why I will always encourage you to have two separate platforms. I find it personally quite strange that I will follow a particular brand and then they'll show me a personal image of them and their boyfriend or their family. I'm not following you for that reason. So having two specific platforms is great, a personal one where you're developing your personal brand and one for your business. I follow a designer who does that. One is specifically for the clothes she makes, amazing clothes. I know what I'm doing when I'm on that page. And one is for her. She does a lot of lifestyle, luxury stuff, but that's who she is and that's what she wants to put out there. So that's her personal brand. Two different goals, two different platforms, or should I say, sorry, two different profiles on Instagram. So you've defined your goals, you've set a particular theme, or you have a particular pattern that you like to follow, and then you start producing content. So what is it that you want people to know about you? I kind of mentioned this before. If the message you're conveying is that you're a nice, bubbly person, or you're someone that you want to be invited to parties, let's say, for example, or you are interested in the creative industry and you've used your platform to demonstrate your creativity, maybe you're good at taking pictures, you're good at making clothes, you could be good at experiments and using Instagram in a creative way to demonstrate your scientific knowledge, for instance. How do you now create content that will demonstrate these things? So that's another way of putting it as well. So one thing as well, take advantage of hashtags. They can be your best friend. But remember, too much of one thing isn't good. So you don't want to post something and have 15 hashtags. You can personalize your own hashtags, get your friends and family to utilize them, get the people around you to utilize those hashtags to really promote yourself using your platform as well. And last but not least, what I will mention with Instagram is that it's the benefits of it. So one, it's an easy tool to really market opportunities or market yourself and get yourself out there. It's easy to really connect and follow other people and have people follow you as well. You can use it to extend your reach because there are millions and millions of people out there. So it's really easy to really contact and get in connection with people. Similar to LinkedIn, but I also say LinkedIn is more professional, whereas Instagram, you can use it for personal use, business use, a variety of different things as well.
Yeah.
However, as Dean has mentioned, where we talked about being careful with what you post, don't let that stop you from being who you are or being yourself. We all are entitled to our opinion, and it's good to share it. It's good to interact with the people that you want to interact with. So I wouldn't use those negatives to hold you back. Instagram is a great place. It may have its negatives, but most places may potentially have its negatives. But if you be yourself, if you get the right support, so for example, those who come to Middlesex University, MGX Works are gladly here to support you, to build your personal profile, to build your personal brand. And we can give you tips on how to develop yourself using various different social media networks. For everything else, if you're not sure if it's relevant to be seen, it's just easier as putting it on private and limiting the reach to those who are outside. And that's literally it for the Instagram part.
Perfect. So we asked you at the beginning of our presentation what all these high profile people have in common. So if you can utilize the chat box and share, what do you think they all have in common? Okay, besides the fact that they're celebrities. Okay, let me stop sharing my screen because I actually want to have a look at the chat box.
I think they'll have to use the Q&A.
Yeah, the Q&A then. So in the Q&A, if you want to type, what does Chrissy Teigen, Iggy Azalea, Zayla Banks, Zoella, Kevin Hart, Vanessa Hudgens, what do they have in common? I give 1 minute, just mindful of time and the fact that we need to wrap up. Let's see. Okay. A platform and a fan base. Absolutely, they have a platform and a fan base. But that's not what we're looking for with regards to the answer. Definitely. I think the reason why, okay, I think we can go ahead and, 1 second, go back and share the screen. I don't see any other things coming in the Q&A. So I'm going to go back and share my screen. And so with regards to all these high profile people, actually, these people have had scandals. Essentially, what have happened. Someone has muted me for some reason. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So, so what all these high-profile people have in common is essentially having old tweets resurfaced. Okay, so that's either tweets when they were, you know, less popular, less in their prime, and so each one of these. Oops. I'm not sure why. Okay. I'm not sure why it's not. I don't know what's going on with my camera and microphone, sorry. So just to continue what I'm saying, with regards to these people, each one of these high profile celebrities has had an issue with regards to a old. Okay, I'm just seeing a lot of prompts, everyone. I don't know who's playing around with stuff, but it's fine. So all these celebrities have had old tweets resurfaced. So just to give you an idea, just more recently, Chrissy Teigen has been accused of bullying online. We had Kevin Hart have an issue with some old tweets being resurfaced, which actually caused him to drop out from hosting the Oscars. We'd have Vanessa Hudgens also recently having a situation sensitive. Yeah, so something insensitive with regards to COVID. So all these celebrities, had they been a little bit cautious of what they were writing, with regards to, you know, how insensitive they were with regards to what they posted, they wouldn't have had all these things happen to them. So some of them lost sponsorships, some of them had products not being listed in certain retail stores because they want to be associated with that person.